Hi, I'm Tim and this is Timberway Designs. In this series of videos, I'll take a rough rocker slab and I'll run you through all my steps from the beginning to the end of how to make a cabochon. So this week, I got a piece of fancy Laguna lace agate. Let's make a cabochon. So this week's rocks is fancy Laguna lace agate. Again, I don't know if it must be special stuff if they call it fancy. So I ordered about 5 pounds of this rock and they sent a couple of little pieces with the bigger pieces. And I went ahead and I cut this one in half, and this is what this one looks like inside. So we'll get it well wet here. Look at that. It is pretty. So I am going to make this triangular shape here on the other half. And I think I'm going to use the inch and 1/8. And we're going to run it just kind of like that there. Use my ultra fine Sharpie here. Can't be moving the... And Tim's having a hard time here. Okay, I think we got it. So if you're interested, I make these templates here. I think I got 26 shapes. I got 4 more, but I got to get them on Etsy. And this one here, actually, a viewer sent in a suggestion for this shape here. So I'm open to suggestions for shapes. I just, you know, I got to feel that they're good for me too. So if you're interested, check these out. Made out of plastic. They're all the same size, so they stack very well. Actually, I got a whole stack of them right here when I'm trying to figure out my shape. So here's a stack. Look at that. Ain't that cool? So take a look at them. All right. So I'm going to take this downstairs. We're going to take on the trim saw. We're going to trim off the excess. Then we'll take it over in the cavern and we'll start working on it there. So we'll see you downstairs. All right, we're down here on my high-tech 10-inch lapidary saw, and before we get started, I just want to show you, this is called a continuous rim sintered diamond blade. It's got diamonds in this goldish bronze looking stuff here, and I'm running my thumb on it, and it don't even cut the glove, so this is not sharp. It cuts by grinding. Just to show you, I'm not going to cut my fingers, so we're going to go ahead and trim around the lines here and see how much we can knock off. All right, that's good enough for me. If the stuff's making me kind of nervous, I got chunks falling off here. I'd rather grind it off than have it break my pattern here. So let's move over to the cabbing machine. All right, now we're on my 6-inch Kingsley North cabber. We're on the grinding side. This is the 80 grit, 220 grit, and a 280 grit. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grind it down to the line, starting with the 80 grit, and just work my way across these 3 wheels here. And then once we get that, we'll put a dop stick on it and we'll start making a cab out of it. So let's get started. All right, that's close enough on the 80 grit. Let's move to 220. So when you're grinding, especially on this wheel here, if you're doing a radius like this, don't stop, or you'll grind a flat spot in there, you'll have scratches and you will not be able to get them out on this. You'll have to come back over here. All right, we're looking pretty good here. Let's move on to the 280 grit. All right, let's see what we got going here. Get it that'll do. All right, it's looking pretty good so far. Let's put it on dot pot and then we'll make a cab out of it. All right, we're back. I got the stone glued to a stick with some special lapidary wax here called from a dot pot. So we're going to start with the 80 grit, then we'll move on to 220 grit, and then we'll do the 280 grit. So let's start cabbing. All right, just lots of chunk out right here. I'm gonna try to blend this in to this corner here. I don't think it's gonna work though. We'll see what we can do. All right, so what I was doing here is I was establishing a girdle around the edge of this cab right here. And then what I'll do is I'll start working my way towards the top. You come in at about an angle. It don't matter what the angle is. That's the angle I came in because it's stoned so high. But then we lost a chunk out of the corner here. So the shape is not going to be exactly what I wanted. I had to kind of modify it a little bit. I think we're doing okay here. So I'm going to go ahead and start working my way towards the top to establish the height of my dome. All right, I kind of knocked down the top a little bit here. So now what I'm going to do is stay away from the girdle now. Now you got to grind out to kind of get a rough outline of your dome here. So we'll start, just above the girdle and just kind of work our way around. Okay, I kind of worked my way towards the center here. It's kind of still high in the center, but I'm starting to get a little curve of a dome here on this thing. So I'm going to work the center down a little bit, and then we'll start doming it. All right, I like the height. Right now, I'll probably make it just a little lower, because this is a smaller stone now. So let's start doming it. All right, I noticed that this quartz corner here is much softer than the fortification. So on the 80 grit, it was starting to disappear faster than this side here. So you got to kind of watch out for that and be careful when you got two different minerals up against each other, because I can see this is disappearing pretty fast. Now on the 220 grit, it won't do that on you, but the 80 grit, you got to be careful. So I think we're pretty good there. Let's move on to the 220 grit. What do we got going here? I guess. Not looking too bad. Now I gotta kind of treat this edge here because I had to grind it on the 80 grit. We gotta get them grind marks out of it. All right, I think we're gonna move on to 280 grit. Well, actually, we're going to knock the edges off here. Now, when I say knock the edges off, all I'm doing is taking that sharp edge where the dome comes down to the girdle. I'm knocking that off. I'm not going all the way around the stone because I don't want to put scratches from the 220 grit into the girdle. So this will help the 80 grit to round that off. This is the way I do it. So. See what we got going here. Nicely rounded. Get a little shallow on the quartz side here, but I think we're okay. Alright, kind of dry it off a little bit. Alright, just to be safe, I'm going to run it on the hard part a little bit more here. You want to try to catch your scratches as soon as possible. Sometimes they're really hard to see on the 280 grit. You don't usually see them till you get on the polishing side, and then you got to come back, and that I don't like doing that. I know nobody likes doing that. All right, let's move over to the polishing side. All right, we're on the polishing side, and we have a 600, a 1200, a 3000, and I have a cerium oxide disc around the corner here. So we'll start with 600. See how successful we were getting the scratches out. And I think we did pretty good. Now I'm going to move on to 1200. All right, now on to 3000. All right, I'm curious to see what kind of shine we got going here. Look at that. That's just on the 3000. So I'm going to take it over in the cerium oxide, run across that, and see if we can improve this just a tad, and hang in there. All right, this is a cerium oxide disc. It's mounted on the end of my shaft on the polishing side. It uses a sticky pad that's impregnated with cerium oxide. Works really good, and it's not messy, and I love it. So turn the water on, and let's see what we can do here. All right, I'm curious. Let's see what we got. Since it looks so good on the 3000, oh, look at that. They don't get much shinier than that. So I'm going to take this upstairs and throw it in the freezer, get it off the stick, and then we'll take a closer look at it. All right, we're back upstairs. Let's see what my labor's produced here. Look at that. Laguna lace agate. Fancy Laguna lace agate. And let's kind of make sure you get the name right here. Very pretty. It's got a couple of minor fractures in it along the edges. Then you saw that one chunk fell out over here, so I had to kind of regroup and reshape the cab to make a cab. Got lucky there. Look at that. I like the colors. Actually, I like this even better than Mexican crazy lace agate. It's had a little piece of quartz right there. So yeah. So there's the other half right there. So there you have it. Laguna lace agate. Well, I hope you enjoyed watching me make this Laguna lace agate from this to this here. This will be available on my Etsy page someday. I'm trying to get on. I know I said that in the last video too, but I'll get them on there eventually. So next week, I have a piece of pinolite. If I'm saying that correctly, I'll put the name down below there. Not exactly like it looked on the picture. I ordered this from Highland Park Lapidary. They got some pretty good selection there, but the picture kind of not quite the same. But we'll make a good cab out of that anyways. So, I'd like to thank the viewers and the subscribers especially watching this content. I really appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed, consider subscribing. There's a button down below there, absolutely free. Push that button and come over there and give me a thumbs up, because that gets the analytics out there so more people can find this content. And then you can share it, hyperlink it on your mobile device, and then push the bell button so you get notifications when the videos come out. And this video comes out every Saturday. And then I have another series where I cut rocks in half and make cabs out of those. That comes out every Wednesday. So you can kind of bounce back and forth between two series of videos I have here. I really appreciate that. So I'm going to put up a playlist that's got this series of videos here. So if you just want to watch me make cabs out of single rocks, it'll be over here, I don't know where. And then I'll let YouTube throw a video up, whatever they decide, as long as it's one of mine. So thanks again for watching. I really appreciate it. That's all I got, and I'll catch you later.